Good Shabbos, everybody. Beautiful Shabbat to see you all, and two special visitors, one very special visitor. Wonderful, wonderful Shabbat. Look forward to schmoozing with you all upstairs at the Kiddush. There is a story which I've told you before, but I think is a very powerful story for all of us. And the story is told of a very wise king. And because this king was convinced that he knew it all, he challenged his subjects to see if they could come up with a question which would stump him. Now here's the problem with that. Hopefully you're unsuccessful. But if you are successful, I guess in those days you faced being put to death. I mean, if you can stump the king. So it's a problem. But anyway, he went ahead and he placed that challenge. And as you might imagine, most of the subjects were afraid to take up the challenge. The fear of showing up the king. But then there was one. There's always one in every group. And there was one that stepped up with a question that truly stumped the king. And his question was, what could make happy people stop and reflect on their joy, while also being able to make sad people happy? So I want to repeat that again. Is there anything in this world that could possibly make happy people sad, reflect on their joy, while also at the same time being able to make sad people happy? If nothing immediately comes to mind, don't feel bad. Not even the wise king could answer this question either. And so the king, not wanting to admit to his subjects that there was possibly something out there that he didn't know, he immediately sent out his most trusted advisors throughout the kingdom to see if anyone could provide him with the answer to this cryptic question. And after traveling the kingdom for weeks, the advisors came to a small remote village where they posed the question to the residents. And again, none of the villagers knew the answer. But one of them said, you know, there is a very wise woman who we all turn to without questions. For sure, she would know the answer. And so the advisors went to the woman's stall in the marketplace and asked her the question, what is one thing that could make happy people sad and at the same time make sad people happy? The woman was silent. She didn't respond. But as the advisors were getting ready to leave, giving up all hope of finding the answer to the question, the woman turned away, sort of scurried between the blankets and the curtains of the stall. And within moments, the woman returned holding a small box, a box that was a little larger than the palm of her hand. And the advisors, they gathered in a circle around the woman, and they looked at the box. And one by one, as each one looked inside, one by one, they smiled, they nodded, and they acknowledged that they had found what they were looking for. They had found the answer to the question. They rushed back to the palace with the box and immediately told the king that they had found the answer to the question and that the answer was right here in the box. The king laughed. How foolish could they be to think that the answer was in a tiny box? How could the answer be in there? His advisors said to him, Your Majesty, the answer is right here in the box. And so, not having any other ideas where to look for the answer, the king figured that he should trust his advisors. He took the box, he looked inside, and he smiled. And he closed the box, thanking his advisors for finding the answer to the question of what could make happy people sad, while sad people happy. And I'm sure you're probably wondering what was in the box. What, if anything, could possibly be in a tiny box that fits the palm of your hand that could make a sad person happy, overcome his or her grief, and make a happy person pause in thoughtful reflection? Inside the box was a piece of jewelry. Piece of jewelry was a bracelet. What was so special about the bracelet? Was it made of diamonds? Was it worth a lot of money? Did it contain some sort of magic potion? No. It was a very simple bracelet. But around the bracelet, the outside of the bracelet was inscribed 3 Hebrew words. And those Hebrew words were Gam Ze Ya'avor, which means this too shall pass. This too shall pass. What shall pass? And how do these words answer the riddle that was stumping us? And the truth is that if we stop and we think about it, these words do answer the riddle. They make a lot of sense, and they offer us valuable insight into how to handle the ups and downs of life. Let me explain to you how and tell you why I'm bringing this up today. This Shabbat is Shabbat Shkalim and Shabbat Mevarchim. We're blessing the upcoming month of Adar 2. And Adar 2, there is a saying, Mishenichnes Adar marbim b'simcha, that when the month of Adar arrives, we have to increase, or we should increase our jollification, our joy and excitement. How do we go about increasing our joy? The truth is that other than celebrating Purim, we don't do anything differently in the month of Adar. We don't add anything to our daily liturgy, to our daily services that would show any form of added joy during the month. We don't omit any prayers that we do on other special days, other happy days throughout the year. But the command to increase our joy, our happiness, our simcha, implies that even before Adar begins, and certainly after it ends, we should already be in a happy state, a state of simcha. But is that possible? Is it even realistic? Can we always be in that state of happiness? Can we always be in that state of joy, allowing us to increase our joy at this time of year? And certainly since October the 7th, with Israel still at war, and over 100 of our brethren still held hostage, how is it possible to possibly think of joy? In fact, many congregations, certainly across Israel, I don't know if you've read it this week, that Israel's cutting out a lot of its celebrations. I don't believe that we can realistically do so. So there must be another way of looking at the idea that we should increase our joy now. And that way is by looking at what it really means to be happy, to be joyous, and to learn to cherish those moments, because those moments might not last. Here is what you need to understand, not only today, not only throughout the month of Adar, but every day throughout the year, throughout our lives. And that is when life seems to be going well for us all. We feel very happy, and we feel very satisfied, because health is good, family is good, job is good, financial status. Even the Canadians have a successful season. Whatever it is that makes you happy in life, and that is precisely the time, it's exactly the time that you have to stop and say, Gam Ze Ya'avor, this too shall pass. Now, I don't mean to say this in a defeatist or negative way. I'm certainly not saying that you shouldn't be happy when you're experiencing all these things and more, please God. But you have to understand that these things won't last. And therefore, you shouldn't get used to them, get comfortable. Rather, what I'm saying is that precisely at those times, at those moments of joy, happiness, and elation, whether they are frequent or rare, you should stop and appreciate the experience. Savor the moment. Last night around our Shabbat table, we had our kids. We had our kids' partners. We had guests. And it was simcha. And I just sat back. I didn't have to be involved in a discussion, just watching them interact, watching them have fun. Savor the moment. Stop whatever you are doing and reflect for a moment on the joy that you are experiencing right then and right there. And do so because as much as we might want it to last forever, that joy it's unlikely that it's going to last forever. And it might not even last beyond that particular moment. And that is why we say, Gam ze ya'avor, this too shall pass, to force us to stop and reflect, to offer gratitude to God and to our families and to our friends for allowing us to experience this moment of joy. And then, by reflecting on how it is we got to this place, how much we cherish the state of happiness, and by not basking in the glory of happiness, we hopefully train ourselves to continue to work to maintain this state so that it remains as long as it can and doesn't pass too quickly. At the same time, there is that second part of the equation. And that is when things aren't going well. When you hear the news that you don't want to hear. When there is hurt, when there is pain in your life. When someone is in poor health or in dire straits. When you are sad, when you are depressed over anything that's in your life not going well. Again, think of what we have all been experiencing since October the 7th. That is certainly the time to remember, Gam ze ya'avor. This too shall pass. It won't necessarily fix the problem. It won't necessarily erase the pain and make all the sadness disappear. But it is a reminder that the darkness of that particular moment is only temporary. It will indeed pass too. And that can be a major source of comfort. Our dark moments are only temporary. Gam ze ya'avor, this too shall pass. And that is why we must learn to recognize and appreciate those moments, hopefully many such moments that are happy, and then do our best to work the hardest we can to make them last. And at the same time, we have to learn to recognize that the unhappy moments, the painful moments can and will be overcome too. And then maybe, now we can better understand what those words, Mishanichnas Adam Arbim B'Simcha, when the month of Adar arrives, that we should increase our joy, really come to teach us. Let us also remember that when this month is over, it doesn't mean that our joy has to end with it. And therefore, I pray for all of us that then may this month coming, Adar 2, and indeed may the many months and the years after be months of happiness and peace for us all, for our families, and for all of Israel, and for all of mankind. And to that we say, Amen. Shabbat Shalom. We continue.